Welcome back to the Angel Scrolls. No matter how tough this year has been for everyone, we wish you all a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. We have faith that the new year will resolve the current crises that it faces right now, and bring back the joy and happiness God wants humanity to experience again. Over the past 20 years, founders of the Angel Scrolls have experienced many lessons in spirituality through the communication of angels. First, these communications started coming from three budgies, who began to express their spiritual beliefs in full-blown speech, and now these remarkable, similar messages are coming through a new channel from heaven, that is open through reverse songs. Even though we have only touched the basics, we have surely learned much about spirituality during these many years. Therefore, we would like to talk about the basics of spirituality a little before we get to the song. There are so many people all over the world today that have varying degrees of religious cultures, but do not have a clue about what true spirituality is. So we would like to talk about some of the things we have learned from the angels during the past at the Angel Scrolls. 1. The first step of spirituality or being spiritual is recognizing that God and the angels do exist, and they can help humanity to create miracles for the betterment of humanity. 2. Being spiritual is always trying to take the good path in life, that is based on love, truth, compassion, and care for others, as well as humanity's future. 3. Most spiritualists believe they have God-given gifts that will help others, and those who do not, believe they can learn them through others, who have spiritual experiences. 4. Spiritual people believe in spiritual evolution, which enables us to join God and the angels in heaven, becoming more like them, as we evolve. 5. Some people who believe they are spiritual may think it is sacrilegious to strive to be more like God, yet it only makes sense that there are so many things in the universe that God wants to share with us. It would be unproductive of Him to prevent us from evolving to a higher level. So truly, spiritual people believe that God has given us the tools to evolve spiritually, so we can be more like Him, as we join those in heaven that love us. 6. Spiritual people do not base their actions on religious evil, and know that God gives us the right to have different beliefs, yet He still tries to guide us on the right path when we are in confusion. 7. Spiritual people know that true love is the fuel that drives our soul for eternity. It is the fabric of space and time. Would we not miss those we loved throughout our past lives, and would we not want to spend more time with them, to experience the wonders God has created for us? 8. Spiritual people demonstrate an exorbitant amount of forgiveness towards those that have done them harm in the past. Why do we need forgiveness in heaven? Perhaps the person that harmed you in the past was in a lot of confusion at the time and made significant changes later in life, to be more spiritual, which allowed their soul to reach heaven. If so, lack of forgiveness, and evil intentions towards that person, would be a form of evil that is not allowed in heaven. 9. If you are spiritual, you have faith that as long as you do what is good, you will be under the protection of God and the angels, and realize that God has trouble guiding us, when we are on the wrong path or in confusion. 10. Spiritual people believe they have a goal and purpose in life. Their goal is to some way do good things for themselves and others, seek and speak the truth and know the difference between right and wrong. 11. If you are spiritual, you know that God knows we all make mistakes in life, and as long as we learn from them and try to move away from anything that prevents us from spiritual evolution, then we are forgiven and given a clean slate from God, like any father who loves their child would do. 12. Lastly, spiritual people are supportive of others who are spiritual, and even though they may not have the same beliefs, seek out a common goal, which basically strives on the preservation of humanity and finding ways for less pain and suffering for humanity's future. The first song Ryan chose to feature today is his reversal of Billie Eilish's My Future. This song was released on July 30, 2020, exactly 1 year before her second studio album, Happier Than Ever, as the lead single. Eilish wrote the song alongside its producer, her brother. As often witnessed by past visionaries of the angel scrolls, Ryan's dream transcriptions consistently result in divine lessons and prophecy that is confirmed at some point in the future. The dream transcriptions also have a relationship to the song reversals, and we will feature a second song reversal that relates to this dream transcription at the end of this presentation. Currently, Billie Eilish is very young, and some of you may think that she is going through a rebellious phase in her life. Like many other of the artists that Ryan features in reverse music, those who listen may think the songs are not appropriate for a spiritually based forum because some feature questionable images and lyrics in the forward mode. This dream transcription helps to explain some of the reasons these songs were chosen. The dream that Ryan chose today is called The Key to Heaven. He transcribed it in 2008, and it was amongst the first dreams he ever transcribed with the help of the angels, a forum visionary named Bill said. "I had a dream I held a golden key. It was so beautiful to look at. It was not like a regular key. In the dream, I was looking at myself from a side view, holding the key, but when I looked at the key, I was looking at it holding it in my hands, looking down at it not from a side view. I hope this makes sense." March 22, 2008 at 8:15 a.m. Ryan answered in the forum. "Hi Bill and everyone. This is quite an amazing dream, prophecy and transcript. It helps to explain some of the things that we have learned in the past, as well as some new revelations. It is a prophecy because you posted this dream on the 20th of March, and you asked this question on the 21st of March. The dream actually answered your question before you posted it. Here is the question you asked. I would like to know why you need to get your insight or interpretations from angels and not from the Lord. As Daniel told King Nebuchadnezzar, it's God, the Lord, that we get all knowledge from." Transcription by R.B. Reynolds, on March 22, 2008. Bill, we have an answer to why Ryan often has the angels instead of God speaking to him. You have posted a dream about this golden key. It was sent as a prophecy to answer your question here, for God and the angels know every single thing that each one of us will do in the future. When something lives in the metaphysical, we can always move back and forth from the past to the future. Therefore the angels will always know what your question will be beforehand. Also, God has eternity to answer all questions that each one of us may have on earth. This is how God can have a personal relationship with each one of us. However, God also has a relationship with all the angels who have volunteered to help him in heaven as well. Now you had a dream of a beautiful golden key. This was a symbol of the relationship you have with God. And God represents this key. Why is God represented by this key? We know God is surrounding everything in life, and he will make an effort to inspire you spiritually. But inspiration is not the same thing as really knowing God, and getting the truth from him. So we will see God from a different angle, depending on how spiritual we are. The angels have seen God and have learned a lot from him. Ryan said there is a reason for the angels in heaven to communicate with him often, instead of God directly. It shows that the angels understand God's reasoning, because they experience it themselves. God is the highest level of spiritual evolution, and everything we have comes from him. And this is the angels' testimony to his greatness and his love. God prefers us to teach others of the miracles He has made throughout eternity. And this is why you are looking at this key from a different angle. This angle is a symbol of a spiritual perception. It depends on our spiritual perception on how we see God. We can either be inspired by the things that He has created, and know these things from God are the key to being with Him in heaven, or we can give testimony to the wonderful things He has given all of us. Now Ryan has a relationship with God, and many of his visionaries have different relationships. Ryan knows that the angels know God in heaven, and these angels are helping him here. So there is no reason to expect that God would want to take away these testimonies of the angels. When God wants Ryan to know something, He will tell the angels, so they can pass it on. And this is the spiritual way of God, which is reflected here in this form of religion, and this spiritually helps relationships to grow. When we go to heaven, there will be many souls who know us and love us there. So God will not be the only one who will be with you. We hope this explanation will satisfy your needs, and remember that the key is not just learning from God alone, for you may have a different perspective. Through the grace of God, He allows us to learn from each other, through His guidance. Also, He will always know how we are spiritually. God relies on heaven for it. This key of God is also the key that opens the doors to heaven. You will get it for having a relationship with someone that knows God, and it will always look different depending at what angle you look at it. Your God does not give this key for inspiration. You do not become one of God's visionaries for believing you know how God is. One becomes a prophet for truly knowing Him. A prophet also will be able to contact God when there is something that is important. When this angle changed, you were looking down. And this was a symbol of the experience of having evolution of your soul. When we evolve spiritually, then we will live in heaven for eternity when we die. And when we are an angel in heaven, we will be able to go back to anywhere in our life and try to help others who love us. We can help them to grow spiritually, so they can join us in heaven. And this is the reason that some of our souls can live simultaneously in heaven. In effect, we can be seeing things from two different places, and two different periods of time. If there was only one perception of your God, then we could not really evolve spiritually. Let's explain this better. You are at a point in your life where much of your life has been corrupted by evil, but you changed later in your life, and became spiritual enough to make it to heaven. And when you are up in heaven, your perception of your God is always right because you have spiritually evolved. And when you look down, you can choose a time in your life, and go back to see what kind of perception you had at any point in your physical life. You can actually go back to any of your previous lives and see what your perception of God was. So this was what this dream was about. God will always count on heaven to help us change our perception of Him, before we get to heaven. Without heaven, we could not become spiritual enough for heaven, and everything would be evil. If we never change our perception of God, then we would be very confused in heaven, as we learn new things. And we have learned that when we have confusion, it is evil, even for the angels in heaven. You have a Bible that teaches us a perception of God in Christianity. There was help from heaven for that particular time. And Jesus was there to help people change spiritually, because their perception of God was not very positive. The world was very confused about spirituality, and God knew there was much tribulation coming. However, humanity still wasn't ready for God's truth, and spiritually they were not allowed to grow, as they were labeled heretics, and tortured and killed. Throughout history, we have seen this happen many times. We know that Jesus tried to change all of this, but His time was cut short on earth before He completed His mission. And this was not something that God wanted to happen. God's first law is the preservation of life, and it has been since the beginning of creation. We will get a better understanding of this law as we grow spiritually, and we will give you many examples of this, as we move forward here. When civilization as a whole is not growing spiritually, then it is more difficult to reverse all the evil on earth from heaven. When evil is rampant throughout civilization, there will be no compassion for life, and there will be a lot of religious evil in regions throughout God's world. So how is the world ready to rely on God to teach them through this religion, and unite with the angels in heaven, so we can reverse this evil? We must prepare for Jesus' return, and gather the people who know what His mission will be in this world. You can be sure that Jesus is returning soon with all the miracles He has shown in the past. And this religion has been sent from heaven to prepare us for His return. You will be able to experience some of these miracles in preparation for His arrival. The way of the future lives in heaven, and you can help heaven preserve life through God's love. When we have a change in our perception, we will see it from an angle that we have not been shown before. And this angle is the angle that God wants to show everyone. When the angle is obscured by something evil, you will have to change it, to get a clear view of God's truth and love. And when you have a true understanding of God's love, you will change your perception, and be able to grow spiritually. We have another song, Reversal, and we hope you enjoy it. In this reversal, the angels talk about how even Jesus had to deal with the naysayers and skeptics. There is also a little surprise in this one at the very end when it was reversed. This is another live performance. At the beginning the band is introduced, then they go into a fairly long instrumental that Ryan cut short, keeping in the introduction, as something interesting was said by the announcer. And he noticed that the angels seemed to be replying to someone who said something negative again. So he went to comments on his YouTube videos and found one sole comment, which was basically just given at that time he was transcribing this song. This is the comment. 3 days ago someone said, "So the birds and the backwards music has to be interpreted?" And that message is captioned so when people read along, they hear what's being read in the words. It's a simple trick on the mind. The backwards song along with the captions made no coherent sense. Why would God communicate in such a way? So Ryan believes that this song reversal is in response to this message. The song Ryan chose in this reversal is Eye in the Sky by Alan Parsons Project. This is another group that has been around for a long time, and one of his favorite groups of the past. Eye in the Sky is a song by British rock band the Alan Parsons Project. It was released as a single from their 6th studio album, Eye in the Sky, 1982, in August 1982. It hit number 3 on the Billboard charts in the US in October 1982, number 1 in both Canada and Spain.
That completes this presentation. To hear more, please subscribe to our YouTube channel or visit our website at theangelscrolls.com.